Court of the State of New York Criminal Division is now in session. The Honorable George Bundy Smith presiding.
Your Honor, Jefferson Monk and Taylor Monk are the only two people who have the means, the opportunity,
The important and relevant facts of this case are simple and clear, Your Honor. 3 years ago, in 1997...
And you occasionally found barrels without stickers, correct?
That's correct.
Haven't you stated that at times the waste disposal site's paperwork would get fouled up?
Yes, it would.
Have you brought any examples of this fouled up paperwork to court today?
Objection, Your Honor. Argument.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
I'll permit that question.
Thank you. I'll repeat.
Yes and no.
Would you like me to repeat? Yes. Have you brought any examples of this fouled up paperwork to court today?
We've been doing this for a long time. It's a partnership between the New York State Bar Association and the New York State Education Department with a lot of help from the New York Bar Foundation. And we believe it promotes good citizenship, good character, and educational values.
The mock trial program is an excellent example of how professionals in the legal field are teaching students, teaching the participants in mock trial how to handle a conflict the right way.
It highlights so many students, 500 teams across New York State, 4,000 students who take 5 months out of every year and learn to be lawyers and in the process learn our society's way for resolving disputes.
We are certainly teaching a lot about court procedures and the law. We're helping kids understand how the process works, how the process has been set up to try to achieve justice. And we help them understand the role of attorneys.
The foundation has been laid for this line of questioning. We do not know how this document was made, where this document came from.
I think the students went into it because it sounded like a good idea, went into the mock trial program. And I think that as we went along, they started to see it more as something that was a challenge, a task to kind of be mastered, and certain skills that certainly were achievable. And they spent a lot of time working on these skills, especially questioning skills, also working up their opening and closing statements, working for long periods of time on cross-examination and tone, and then also the specific questions they were asking.
In his own backyard, the Mack property, which is now the ESL property, where the barrels were discovered. Therefore, it is an admission, and therefore it is admissible. Preparation is the key to a successful mock trial team, because if you're not willing to sacrifice your time, if you're not willing to put in the effort, you're not going to get any results, which is what I really learned. It's a good life lesson to learn, too. You have to sacrifice a lot if you want to get a lot.
I would have no way of legally disposing of the waste. Therefore, I went on.
If you're not prepared and you're just going to go in, you're not going to succeed. You have to know what you're doing. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but it does pay off.
Then the next question is, how much time do you want to devote to this? And you realize that after a few weeks that you're prepared to devote a little more to get the job done. It's amazing how it grabs you.
I know that not everyone that takes part on my team is academically oriented, but these people are drawing from what they do best, what they love to do. And I think that that will help people to become more academically oriented because it teaches them that they can succeed and be successful with what they love the most.
They become the leaders in the school also, and so it contributes to that. So the school really benefits from this too, as a growth of leadership skills.
The mass was cut down by 90%.
I'll permit it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Even though I'm a coach in teaching students how to deliver opening statements and cross-examine witnesses and so forth, I need to keep up to date on that. It's really a great help for lawyers to keep focused in their own careers.
Well, as a coach, I see them maturing in their ability to speak publicly and in their problem-solving skills.
They learn the value of language and ideas. They learn the value of cooperation and character and integrity.
Their public speaking, even more important, their listening skills, and now you're talking total communication skills, their research skills, and their overall knowledge of the law and of their role as a citizen.
The conclusion on this would be an invention of fact.
I'll permit it. Overruled.
When I see them after school in rehearsals, I see ideas all over the room, but I see them grab onto ideas and then they all work on one until we can turn it into part of the case. I think those skills of being able to think on their feet, think rapidly, and work with a group will go with them for the rest of their lives.
Today you testified that during your time as you worked there, you sometimes had to call clients up to get them to send back a record that you think Miss Willie had lost, correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
Can we agree that you're prejudiced against Miss Willie?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Thank you.
One of the most important things that the mock trial provides is it provides an opportunity for students to really have to carefully analyze a pretty complicated set of facts. We try to create a problem that will not only be interesting in December when they get it, but they'll still be finding things in March and even April. It's like a good-sized onion that they keep on peeling away layer after layer of meaning.
Is it your possession that ESL has made many enemies in its effort to cause environmental reform?
It has made many enemies because of that.
No further questions, Your Honor.
I think one of the strongest features of this tournament is that it forces kids, forces students to live on the top of Bloom's taxonomy, doing the higher level thinking skills, analysis, evaluation, synthesizing, and doing it without assistance, without falling back on teachers. It's real student-centered learning.
Kids learn from each other. It's probably the greatest example I can find of cooperative learning, where the kids really cooperatively learn together and are successful together.
Well, I think the thing that made the most impact on me from mock trial was the level of confidence I gained in being able to speak publicly and just carry myself and articulate myself more competently.
Before I came involved with this program, I wasn't very outgoing. I was kind of shy. I was kind of very nervous in front of people. Now I'm able to stand up and actually give like a speech or do things like that in front of people that I could never really do before.
Even though it may not seem like it's working out at the time, what you have done is worth continuing on with. I think that is such an important lesson for any child, anybody to learn, child or adult. If they learned only that, it would be an extremely worthwhile thing, and they learn much more than that.
You can feel, whether you win the case or not, you feel like you've done your job and you've done it as best as you could.
But even though your grandfather was involved, you were still president and CEO of the company.
Objection to form of the question, time frame?
Establish the time, please.
In 1993, even though your grandfather... The most important thing about mock trial is they help you learn how to take conflicts but view them from two different sides. Because I know you have to do, one week you do one case from one side and you have to look at it from one perspective, but then the next week you take the opposing side. And it's very interesting even in life to know to take both sides and to see both sides and take apart both arguments and see how vulnerable they are or how successful they are.
It teaches them some very sophisticated thinking skills. If you're on the defense one day and you're on the prosecution the next day, and the lawyers are totally changing their roles, they really have to understand exactly what they're doing and how one day one witness is a friend and the next day they're an enemy.
Well, I've started biting my nails. That's the only bad part of mock trial. Being on the witness stand, being cross-examined by another person, by the lawyer from the other team, just, it's such an exhilarating feeling, like wondering whether or not they've actually gotten you to say something that you weren't supposed to, and like trying to phrase your answers in a way that redeems your, and the affidavits are so, like they could go either way on whether or not you're guilty or not. And the possibility of being just struck down on the witness stand or else like exalted, it's fabulous.
Well, I think the biggest thing I have gained so far from the mock trial program, and something that'll help me for as long as I'm doing things, college and beyond, is confidence. It's just to get up there for your first time, whether you're a lawyer or a witness, and to have to talk in front of a full courtroom and have to respond to people who want you to make mistakes, who are trying to beat you.
You do have to teach them to be good sports and to be civil, but you also have to teach them that if there's a point that needs to be made, you need to make that. And so again, I think there's a balance between wanting to win and also wanting to do your best, but not at someone else's expense.
There are a lot of times when I would like to say certain things or comments, but I can't. And it's not just in the courtroom that that's applicable. It's always. But it's in that ordered setting that you realize that there's a sense of professionalism that you can take on to any area.
Lets you cool yourself down and learn how to deal with things that you don't necessarily want to deal with.
Mock trial requires such a discipline. And I think there's a connection between the discipline you need not to respond on a personal level, that courtesy is essential. It's not a personal conflict with the other team. And from the very beginning, the word we mention over and over to our kids is self-discipline. And I think the students get they draw such a great deal from that.
For all we hear about the contentiousness in modern litigation, being an attorney coach gives me the opportunity to tell my students and show my students what's noble and what's proper about our profession.
It's heartening to know that, however, that there is a rule of law that's overhanging it, and people who really, where there's not enough evidence to send them to jail, they're not going to be hurt. That we have a society that wants to make sure people who do bad things get punished, but is almost more concerned with like the humanity of each individual and making sure they get the biggest benefit of a doubt.
It takes quite a bit of time, but luckily it's a labor of love because you get more and more involved with it. The cases continually present new challenges, and it keeps everyone on their toes. It's still invigorating, even though we've been doing this for 4 or 5 months now.
Mock trial is a revelation to these kids about themselves. They find things inside themselves they didn't know they were there.
So even for students who don't go into the practice of law, I hope it makes them better citizens.
I don't think that anything I've done as a teacher, and I've been teaching almost 20 years, seems to me to be more valuable than the kind of lessons that the students learn.
We know that 5 years down the road they won't remember the particular law, they'll remember some aspects of the case, but what this probably has achieved for most students is that they gain the kind of hesitancy before they jump to conclusions. And that sort of habit of mind really is a life skill which goes right to the heart of conflict resolution and building tolerance in individual students and gets, we hope, students to the point that when they pick up a newspaper or hear a news report, or whether it's a personal issue at work or a family issue at home, they become better listeners, and they come into those situations, which we all face, understanding that you need to consider another person's point of view.
The techniques used in this video by the 2 finalists in questioning witnesses, making objections, and presenting statements have proven successful for them. Some of these you may wish to replicate. However, it should be noted that there are many other techniques and approaches that have been used with equal success by many other teams over the years. Each school should find the style and techniques that work best and with which they are most comfortable, reflecting their team's own philosophy and unique abilities within tournament guidelines.
All rise. The Supreme Court of the State of New York Criminal Division is now in session. The Honorable George Bundy Smith presiding. The court will now hear the case of the people of the State of New York versus Monk Agricultural Chemical Company, Taylor Monk and Jefferson Monk, case number MT-01.
May be seated. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's begin. Opening statements.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Chantal Tortoroli, and these are my co-counselors, Milena Ajashvili. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
And Jeremy Kessler.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon and good morning.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
On October 27, 2000, a young girl, Lindsay White, went camping on the Old Monk property. While playing, she came upon what she thought was buried treasure. What she thought was buried treasure, Your Honor, actually turned out to be barrels full of methyl ethyl solvent solution, or the deadly hazardous waste, MES. After innocently coming into contact with this deadly substance, Lindsay White now lies in a hospital bed, her young body battling seborrhea, psoriasis, a cancerous skin condition. Her left eye has been blinded by only the barest of touches. Your Honor, Lindsay White is not the only one. There are 10 other children in similar tragic situations. What caused such a deadly toxin to be within arm's reach of children? 2 other deadly illnesses, Your Honor, greed and revenge. We will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Jefferson Monk, Taylor Monk, and Monk Agricultural Chemical Company, or MAC, committed crimes under Section 7127.12 and 7127.13 of the Environmental Conservation Law. They did so by taking what they knew was toxic waste and by dumping it on what was formerly their land. They did so at 2 separate times. Once, in November 1993, barrels were dumped due to Jefferson Monk's insatiable greed. 100 bright blue barrels were later dumped due to Taylor Monk's lust for revenge. Your Honor, the evidence we will present in court today will prove that Jefferson Monk and Taylor Monk committed this heinous crime. Morgan Mitchell, the president of the Environmental Science League, will testify today. He ran to the Children's Aid on October 27, 2000. He will testify that within the deadly debris the children discovered, he saw a MAC label. He will further testify that ESL and MAC had often come into conflict over environmental laws in the past. ESL supported environmental laws, MAC vehemently opposed them. Your Honor, Sandy Carnes, the investigator of the scene, will also testify today. She will testify about the 2 separate sites of barrels she discovered, both of which contained 55-gallon bright blue barrels containing mess, one of which had MAC labels in the bushes surrounding the barrels. Your Honor, the barrels in the first site were put there due to Jefferson Monk's insatiable greed. In 1993, Pat Willey, president of the Willey Waste Company, was responsible for legally disposing of the waste that MAC produced. However, in November of 1993, he realized with the prices that MAC was paying him, he could no longer afford to legally dispose of the waste. Therefore, he went to Jefferson Monk and asked for a 12% increase. Jefferson Monk refused. Pat Willey then went on strike knowing that he could not afford to legally dispose of the waste. While Pat Willey was on strike, Jefferson Monk didn't hire another state licensed hauler. That would have cost him money. He didn't give Pat Willey the raise. That also would have cost him money. Instead, he decided to dispose of the waste himself, illegally and cheaply in his own backyard. At the end of Pat Willey's 2-week strike, he went to Jefferson Monk and asked for a 10% increase. He got his 10% increase, but he also got confessions from Jefferson Monk as to how he had dumped the waste in his own backyard. Now, Your Honor, revenge provided the motive for the second dumping by MAC. In 1997, when Taylor Monk learned that his grandfather, Jefferson Monk, had deeded his boyhood home, over 800 acres of valuable property with a beautiful 22-room mansion, to his enemy, ESL, he thought his grandfather had lost it. He wanted that valuable land and that beautiful house where he grew up for himself. And so, seeking revenge on ESL, he took 100 of MAC's bright blue 55-gallon barrels and dumped it on the land he had always assumed would go to him. Your Honor, Jefferson Monk and Taylor Monk are the only 2 people who have the means, the opportunity, and the motive to commit this crime. They had the means. They had access to 55-gallon bright blue barrels containing methyl ethyl solvent solution. They had the opportunity. The MAC plant was adjacent to the ESL property. The ESL property was the property where the barrels were discovered. But most importantly, Your Honor, they had the motive. Due to Jefferson Monk's greed and Taylor Monk's desire for revenge, these innocent children were harmed. Your Honor, we are confident that due to the overwhelming evidence we will present in court today, the court will find the defendants guilty on all accounts. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good morning. I'd like to introduce my colleagues, Deirdre Greeley.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
And Irene San Pietro.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
And I am Tara Fitzpatrick. We will be the attorneys for the defendants, Taylor Monk, Jefferson Monk, and the Monk Agricultural Chemical Corporation. May it please the court. The important and relevant facts of this case are simple and clear, Your Honor. 3 years ago, in 1997, Jefferson Monk donated 800 acres of land and his mansion to the Environmental Science League as a gift. Later that year, Jefferson Monk suffered from a stroke, which leaves him committed to a nursing home and unable to appear in court today. Upon receiving the donation of land, Morgan Mitchell, the president of the Environmental Science League, hired an environmental consultant, Dr. Sidney Wickett, to do a Phase 1 environmental report on the property. This report was negative for the presence of hazardous waste. On the same property on October 27, 2000, a group of unsupervised children uncovered barrels of acutely hazardous waste. Significantly, these barrels were both blue and black. Now the families of these children are suing Morgan Mitchell and the Environmental Science League for $7 million. 7 million powerful reasons for Morgan Mitchell to try and shift the blame to someone else. The day after the children's exposure, a state investigator approached Taylor Monk, who immediately cooperated with the authorities in every way. Testimony will show and evidence will prove that when Taylor Monk opened the MAC record-keeping system for inspection, that everything was in order. Despite there being no direct evidence, our clients are still being charged. The prosecution's entire case is based upon innuendo and hearsay. Please note that during the trial, Your Honor, not one document or eyewitness to any illegal action taken by the Monks will be presented by the prosecution. The defense holds two contentions, Your Honor. First, there is no proof beyond a reasonable doubt that the barrels found on the ESL property were MAC barrels. The barrels were of various sizes and colors, and there were no labels on them. These facts make it impossible to clearly determine where these barrels originated from. Also, entrance C, the entrance closest to the property where the barrels were found, lacks both a gate and a guard. This entrance is off a paved public road. What does this mean, Your Honor? That these barrels could have been brought by anyone from anywhere else. The defense's second contention is that no one employed at the MAC plant, nor either one of the Monks, had any knowledge of any illegal disposal of MAC barrels. The defendants exercised due diligence in ensuring that all acutely hazardous waste produced by MAC was properly disposed of. Evidence will show that MAC paid substantial sums of money to the Willie Waste Company to properly dispose of all their waste. The Willie Waste Company is an independent waste hauler contractor. The defense will also bring to your attention a mysterious and unexplained drop in the Willie Waste Company's legal disposal costs for 1993, despite payment from their clients remaining the same. Two final points, Your Honor. The prosecution cannot provide a credible motive for why this multi-million-dollar corporation would risk criminal prosecution to save a few $1,000s. Final point is, Pat Willie, prosecution witness, also had the opportunity and the motive that the prosecution spoke of. Pat Willie appears in court today under a grant of immunity and has several reasons to dislike the Monks and falsely accuse them in court today. Pat Willie was suffering from several financial pressures which could have been alleviated by illegal dumping. Coincidence, Your Honor? I think not. As for the prosecution's theory that you just heard, that this case is based on the Monks gaining revenge on the Mitchells, is absurd on its face. To give this theory credibility, you would first have to believe that the Monks were the only businessmen who disagreed with the Mitchells, despite Morgan Mitchell himself stating ESL had many enemies. You would also have to believe that Jefferson Monk held a grudge for 30 years. Too much has happened to Mac in the past 30 years for Monk to have been able to have enough time to concentrate and carefully calculate revenge on the Mitchells. The prosecution claims that the Monks opposed environmental laws. This just isn't true. The Monks actually lobbied for federal regulatory laws. And the prosecution's supposed confessions, conveniently, can only be testified to by Pat Willie, being that Jefferson Monk is unable to speak due to his stroke. These confessions are uncorroborated, Your Honor. The defense is hiding nothing. The Monks have cooperated with the authorities in every way. The defense is confident that our clients will be vindicated. The state has put the wrong people on trial. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Let's proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution calls Ms. Sandy Carnes to the stand.
Ms. Carnes, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please watch your step, and please speak in a loud and clear voice.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good morning, Ms. Carnes.
Good morning.
Please state your age for the court.
I am 37 years old.
Are you currently employed?
Yes, I am.
Where are you currently employed?
I work the State Environmental Crimes Unit.
What, if any, employment have you held prior to coming to work for the State Environmental Crimes Unit?
Well, I began my law enforcement career by enlisting in the Army, where I was assigned to a military police unit. After that, I worked on the police force until 1995, and I should also note that for a 3-year period, I worked at the MAC plant part-time as security.
What is MAC?
It is the Monk Agricultural Chemical Company.
What is your current position at the State Environmental Crimes Unit?
I investigate environmental crimes.
So as of now, Ms. Carnes, for how many years in total have you been working in law enforcement?
For 19 years.
When did you work for MAC?
I worked for MAC from 1990 to 1992.
Can you please describe what your responsibilities at MAC entailed in detail?
Yes, my prime responsibility while working at MAC was signing for deliveries and shipments of MAC barrels.
Please describe the barrels that you signed for.
All the barrels were bright blue, and each barrel had a MAC sticker on it. However, every day some barrels came in unlabeled.
Can you please describe what you yourself did to the barrels that came in unlabeled?
Objection, Your Honor. This calls for a narrative. Thank you, Your Honor.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. I put MAC stickers on them.
What was your work schedule at MAC?
I only worked part-time. I averaged about 2 shifts a month, except during the summertime when I helped them for vacations. I averaged about 10 shifts a month.
Please tell the court about your whereabouts on October 27th, 2000.
I was at the former Monk property.
For what reason were you there?
I was there to investigate a toxic waste crime.
During your initial investigation, what, if anything, did you observe?
I found 25 barrels of varying description. Each barrel had a hazmat decal on it.
Your Honor, at this time I would like a stipulation from the opposing counsel that on page 27, stipulation number 7, states that the contents of the 25 barrels found by the children and the 100 bright blue barrels later found by the state investigators were tested at the state's forensic environmental lab and found to contain methyl ethyl solvent solution, and that this fact is not in dispute.
Any objection to that?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, so stipulated.
Ms. Carnes, please describe the 25 barrels that you found during your initial investigation in further detail.
Some of the barrels I found were faded blue, others were black, some were almost completely rusted through, and others hadn't been rusted at all, and each barrel had an oozing liquid coming out of it.
What, if any, further investigation did you conduct at the crime scene?
I went back the next day and I found a second set of barrels, separate from the first site.
Can you describe these barrels in more detail?
Yes.
Your Honor, this also calls for a narrative.
No, I'll permit it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Could you repeat the question?
Can you please describe these 100 barrels in further detail?
Yes, there were 100 bright blue barrels on that site, and each barrel also had methyl ethyl solvent solution in them, just like in the first site.
Please describe the area immediately surrounding these barrels.
Objection, Your Honor. Form of the question, time frame.
Can you establish a time frame, please?
Yes, Your Honor. During your second investigation,
Thank you, Your Honor.
on October 28, 2000, what did you describe in the area immediately surrounding the 100 barrels?
The area immediately surrounding those barrels was covered with numerous MAC stickers.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like this document marked as People's Exhibit 1 for identification.
Right.
May I approach the bailiff?
Yes.
Mark, People's Exhibit 1, Your Honor.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Ms. Carnes, I now hand you what is People's Exhibit 1 for identification. Do you recognize the document?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It's one of the MAC stickers I found on the second day of my investigation, on October 28, 2000.
How do you know it is one of the MAC stickers you found on that day?
Well, it has my name and the date I found it on, and it says to return it to MAC for a reward once found.
Is it in the same or substantially the same condition today as when you first discovered it?
Objection, Your Honor. This is an invention of fact. The condition of the sticker is nowhere stated.
Overruled. I'll permit the question.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It is in the same condition, except when I found it, the sticker was bright blue.
Your Honor, at this time I would like to offer People's Exhibit 1 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, it'll be admitted.
Ms. Carnes, I now direct your attention to November 7th, 2000. What, if anything, did you do in accordance with the investigation on that day?
I contacted Taylor Monk and went over to the MAC plant.
How far is the MAC plant from the ESL reserve?
Objection, Your Honor. Form of the question. Counsel is leading the witness.
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The MAC plant and the ESL reserve are only a short drive apart. In fact, the two are adjacent to each other.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Carnes. May I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes.
Now, you stated that you once worked at the MAC plant. Isn't that correct?
Yes, I worked there for a job.
And you were let go from that job, correct?
Yes, I was fired, unfortunately.
Your Honor, I move to strike the latter portion of that statement as unresponsive.
The
The word-
phrase, unfortunately, is
Okay.
stricken.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, your job including putting stickers on barrels of waste, correct?
Yes, it did.
And these barrels had to have stickers before they left the MAC property. Isn't that true?
Yes, it is.
In fact, this was part of the standard operating procedure at MAC. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, during the years that you were employed, are you aware that the Willie Waste Company was the hauler of hazardous wastes?
Objection, Your Honor. Beyond the scope.
Can you repeat that question, please? Slowly.
Yes, Your Honor. During the years that you worked at MAC, are you aware that the Willie Waste Company was the hauler of hazardous waste?
Overruled. I'll permit it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No, I'm not.
Now, you stated that in preparation for hauling, you inspected barrels for stickers, correct?
Yes.
And you occasionally found barrels without stickers, correct?
Yes, I
And to
would.
send such an unmarked barrel to the disposal company would be a direct violation of the standard operating procedure, correct?
That's correct.
I'd now like to mark this document for identification as Defense Exhibit A. May I
Right.
approach the bailiff?
Yes.
Thank you. You might want to, if there's more than one, can you mark them for me? Thank you. Cool. Thank you.
Defense Exhibit A, Your Honor.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay. May I approach the bench?
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
Isn't this the map that you created of the Monk property during your investigation?
It is.
And is this document accurate?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would now like to move this document into evidence as Defense Exhibit A.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, in evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would now like to direct your attention to entrance C on the map. Isn't it a fact that this entrance has no gate?
That's correct.
And is it also a fact that this entrance is off a paved public road?
Off a paved county road, yeah.
So that's a yes.
It is a yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Isn't it also a fact that anyone standing at entrance C cannot be seen from the mansion?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Sustained.
Your Honor, if I may be heard, this is indeed in the witness's affidavit, and she can therefore testify to it as she made these observations during her investigation.
The objection is sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor. During your investigation on October 27th, didn't you speak with Morgan Mitchell?
Yes, I did.
And didn't he make numerous remarks specifically about the Monk family?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
What is your response to that?
Your Honor, I did not ask what these remarks were. I only asked if these remarks were made.
I'll permit it.
Thank
yes
you, Your
or
Honor.
no?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Didn't he make numerous remarks specifically about the Monk family?
Yes, he did.
I now refer you to the first deposit site uncovered by children. Isn't it a fact that not all the barrels found at this site were blue?
That's correct, yes.
Some of them were black, correct?
Yes.
And some of them were smaller than the 55-gallon size. Isn't that true?
That is true.
And those barrels did not have MAC identification stickers on them, correct?
Correct.
Now, there were hazardous material stickers on these 25 barrels. Isn't that right?
That is right.
But there were no other source designations, correct?
No source designations, no.
Thank you. I direct your attention to the second dumping site. At this site, you found an additional 100 barrels, correct?
Yes.
Isn't it a fact that there were no MAC identification stickers on these barrels either?
But there were numerous MAC stickers surrounding the barrels.
Your Honor, I move to strike the latter portion of that answer as unresponsive.
Sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor. Weren't there only adhesive marks on these barrels where stickers had been?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation. The witness cannot testify as to whether or not stickers had or had not been where the adhesive marks appeared.
Sustained as the form.
Thank you, Your Honor. During your investigation, did you observe adhesive marks on these barrels?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Now, you personally inspected MAC's disposal records, correct?
Yes, I did.
And isn't it a fact that you found these records to be in good order?
Yes, but I wasn't particularly thrilled with the fact of making oneself look good on paper.
Your Honor, I move to strike the latter portion of that answer.
Sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would now like to draw your attention back to the barrels in question. Isn't it a fact that you brought no scientific evidence to court today indicating the age of these barrels?
Which barrels, the first site or the second site?
Any site of
Objection, Your
barrels.
Honor. Characterization as too scientific.
What's your response to that?
Your Honor, if I may be heard, she is indeed the investigator. She had the opportunity to gain forensic analysis on what was indeed in these barrels. I'm asking her if she had a forensic analysis of how old these barrels were.
All right, rephrase the question. Then.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
During any of your forensic investigation, did you conduct any investigation into how old any of the barrels were?
No, but provided that some of them were faded.
Your Honor, I move to strike the latter portion of that answer.
Yes, sustained.
Thank you. Isn't it a fact that you brought no forensic evidence indicating the amount of time that these barrels spent on the property?
That's correct.
And isn't it a fact that you found no eyewitnesses to anyone of MAC illegally disposing of waste?
I didn't find any, but I'm not sure if there were any.
Your Honor, could you please direct the witness to answer the question?
The latter portion is stricken.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Redirect.
No redirect, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Call your next witness.
The people called Pat Willey to the stand.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please have a seat, watch your step, and please speak in a clear and audible voice.
Good morning, Miss Willey.
Good morning.
Miss Willey, what is your profession?
I'm the president of the Willey Waste Company, or WWC.
Can you please describe for the court what WWC does?
We're the state-licensed hauler of hazardous and other wastes.
Can you please describe for the court the WWC waste disposal process in detail?
We take the waste that our clients generate to an incinerator where they're disposed. And for this reason, it has been very difficult to make a profit lately.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. The latter portion is stricken.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Miss Willey, what is your relationship with the source companies as a state licensed hauler?
Objection, Your Honor. As to the form of the question and time frame?
Can
May
you
I
establish
respond?
the time? Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
As you said, you were president of the Willey Waste Company. During the time when you were president of Willey Waste Company, what was your relationship with the source companies that you worked for?
Objection, Your Honor. Form of the question vague. There are several source companies designated in this mock trial, and the only one listed in the packet as relevant to this case is MAC. Could counsel please specify?
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
It's any one. It's the same relationship. It doesn't matter which client she talks about. It's the same relationship.
The objection is sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Very well, Your Honor. What was your relationship as a state licensed hauler with the MAC source company?
Well, based on a contract, we were their employee.
Can you give an example? Can you give an
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike that statement to the question. She may testify to a contract, but she is not the employer and therefore cannot designate her position within the MAC company.
May I respond?
Yes.
She is their employee based on a contract, therefore she can say she's their employee because she is their employee.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
The objection is sustained. The contract
Thank you, Your
speaks for itself.
Okay. Given this contract, can you please give the court the details of the MAC contract?
Well, MAC would pay us $250 to dispose of each barrel, which was 15% lower than what any other waste disposal company was willing to charge.
Can you please describe these barrels you charged $250 for?
They were 55-gallon, bright blue metal barrels with hazmat decals on them.
To your knowledge, what other companies use bright blue barrels for their waste disposal barrels?
Objection, Your Honor, as to the time frame of this question.
Establish a frame, please, time frame.
Thank you, Your Honor.
When you were, in 1991, when you were working for the MAC company under a contract, to your knowledge, were there any other companies that you worked for as well that used bright blue barrels?
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is leading the witness.
Overruled.
Thank you.
In 1991, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay. In 1991, when you were under contract with MAC, were there any other companies you were under contract with that used bright blue barrels for their waste disposal barrels?
Actually, no. MAC was the only company in the area that used bright blue at all.
Now, Ms. Woolley, how long were you charging $250 per bright blue barrel?
For 2 years.
What happened after those 2 years?
Well, after 2 years, I went to Jefferson Monk's office and I requested a 12% increase.
How did Jefferson Monk react to this 12% increase?
He told me and refused and said that with the prices WWC was asking for, he might as well bury the trash in his own backyard or just close MAC down.
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike this statement as hearsay.
Your Honor, if I may respond?
Yes.
Although it is hearsay, it falls into the hearsay exception admission against a party or party opponent in that Jefferson Monk, the defendant in the case, said that he would rather dump 55-gallon bright blue barrels containing methyl ethyl solvent solution in his own backyard, the MAC property, which is now the ESL property, where the barrels were discovered. Therefore, it is an admission, and therefore it is admissible, and it is not hearsay.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
Yes.
This statement has been taken out of context. It was during a contract negotiation with Pat Willey, between Jefferson Monk and Pat Willey, and it is vague. It does not specify which type of barrels, what was contained within the barrels, or what was on them.
Your Honor,
it is not admissible.
Sorry. Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes.
The only barrels that MAC produced were 55-gallon bright blue barrels. The only backyard that Jefferson Monk had was his backyard in the MAC property, which was where the barrels were actually discovered. And, Your Honor, it was not in any time. It was the actual time we are alleging that he dumped the barrels. So, therefore, it is the exact time when the crime occurred.
Your Honor, may I be heard once more?
Yes.
No exact time frame for this crime has been specified within this trial. In fact, Jefferson Monk gestured out his window. The whole portion of the state outside of that window can be referred to. You cannot specify a certain backyard with regards to a window.
Your Honor, if I may respond.
I've heard enough. I'll permit the question. The objection is overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What did you do after Jefferson Monk refused to give you the 12% increase?
Well, in November of 1993, I went on strike.
For what reason did you go on strike?
I knew that with the amount MAC was paying me at the time, I would have no way of legally disposing of the waste. Therefore, I went on strike.
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike the portion of the answer that testifies to the legality of waste disposal. That is the ultimate question of this case.
May I respond?
Sustained.
Okay.
The objection
Your
is
Honor.
sustained.
How long did this strike last?
It lasted for 2 weeks until I received a letter from Jefferson Monk's lawyer.
Did you do anything in response to this letter that you received?
Yes, I went directly back to Jefferson Monk's office and I demanded a 10% increase at minimum.
How did Jefferson Monk react to this request for a 10% increase?
Objection, Your Honor. This question calls for a hearsay response.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes.
I simply asked how Jefferson Monk reacted. I did not ask if he said anything.
I'll permit the question overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
How did Jefferson Monk react to this request?
He agreed to give me the increase, saying that he didn't want his company turning his backyard into a trash dump.
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike the latter portion of this statement as hearsay.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
How did you respond to this?
Well, I asked Mr. Monk if he wanted me to pick up the waste that had accumulated over the 2 weeks that I was not working for him.
And how did he react to this offer of picking up the waste that had accumulated in the 2 weeks of November 1993?
He told me that the waste had already been taken care of.
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike the latter portion of this statement as hearsay.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
When did you receive the MAC barrels that were produced in the first 2 weeks of November 1993 when you were on strike?
Actually, I never received those barrels. Despite my firm request to Jefferson Monk, he never actually gave me the barrels.
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike the latter portion of that statement as outside of the scope of the question.
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What happened after you offered to pick up the waste?
Well, I informed Mr. Monk that I would have to document what happened to the waste while I was not working for him.
And how did Jefferson Monk react to this offer of documentation?
He told me that if I wanted to document what happened to the waste, I would have to go find it myself and point it out the window to his backyard.
Objection, Your Honor. This is uncorroborated hearsay.
The latter part is stricken
Thank you,
as
Your
to
Honor.
where he pointed.
May I respond, Your Honor? No?
The objection is sustained.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please describe any further conversation you had about these 2 weeks' worth of barrels?
Yes, I reminded Mr. Monk that he could only dispose of waste in a state-certified waste disposal facility.
And how did Jefferson Monk react to this reminder?
Objection, Your Honor. This also is uncorroborated hearsay.
Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, he told me that it was his property and he could do whatever he wanted with it.
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike this statement as hearsay. It is out of context and therefore cannot be taken alone.
Your Honor, may I respond?
The objection is overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Now, can you please describe for the court why you're testifying, under what conditions you are testifying today?
I'm in court today under a grant of immunity.
Can you please describe this grant of immunity for the court?
Objection, Your Honor. The immunity speaks for itself.
May I respond?
Yes.
Your Honor, I believe that the witness's knowledge of what this grant of immunity means is very important because it gives weight to her credibility.
Rephrase the question, please. Are you asking her what she was told by the DA or what is written?
I'm asking her what, to her knowledge, her understanding of the conditions she's in court today is, based on what she has been informed.
All permitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Can you please, to your knowledge, describe this grant of immunity that you've been given?
Well, assuming I tell the truth in court today, I will not be prosecuted for any improper record keeping relating to this case. However, if I lie, I will not only be prosecuted, I will be sent to jail.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Yes.
Once again.
Good morning. May I inquire?
Yes.
Thank you. Miss Willie, I direct your attention to the year 1991. Isn't it a fact that you negotiated the original waste hauling contract with MAC at this time?
No, I negotiated my contract in 1993. Well, renegotiated in 1993.
The original waste hauling contract, Miss Willie, did you negotiate that in 1990?
That's when it was placed, yes.
So yes.
Objection, Your Honor. At the first time the counsel said the question, she said 1991. The second time she said 1990. I therefore ask that she not be vague with her questions and stick to one.
Ask the question again, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Isn't it a fact that you negotiated the original waste hauling contract with MAC in 1991?
Yes, that's correct, the original one.
Doesn't Willie Waste Company deal in both hazardous and non-hazardous materials?
Yes, we do.
And your company was paid by MAC to bring hazardous barrels of waste to a legal disposal site?
That's correct.
Haven't you stated that at times the waste disposal site's paperwork would get fouled up?
Yes, it would.
Have you brought any examples of this fouled up paperwork to court today?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
I'll permit that question.
Thank you. I'll repeat.
Yes or no?
Would you like me to repeat? Yes. Have you brought any examples of this fouled up paperwork to court today?
Objection, Your Honor. Characterization fouled up.
Sustained.
Thank you. Miss Willie, have you brought any examples of the waste disposal site's paperwork to court today?
Objection, Your Honor. Vague as to waste disposal. We don't know what waste disposal counsel is referring to.
Sustained.
Thank you. Miss Willie, you said that you negotiated a contract that was too low for you to make a profit. Isn't that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Vague. The witness had many contracts in her numerous years of being president of WWC. I'd ask that counsel limit it to the contract that she's referring to.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'm still referring to the contract established in 1991.
All right.
I'll repeat. You said that you negotiated a contract that was too low for you to make a profit. Isn't that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Characterization too low.
No, I'll permit it.
Well, at the time, it was more than enough, but after the state regulations raised the prices for the incinerator, it was not enough.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense would like to mark this document for identification as Defense Exhibit B.
Right.
May I approach the bailiff?
Yes.
Defense Exhibit B, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may I approach the bench? May I also give the witness a copy?
Yes, thank you.
Miss Willie, is this your affidavit?
Yes, it is.
Is everything in this document truthful?
Yes, it is.
Is that your signature on the third page?
Yes, it is.
And is that the date beneath your signature? Is that accurate?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense would like to move this document into evidence as Defense Exhibit B.
Any objection?
Your Honor, my witness does not know if this document is the same or substantially the same condition as when she signed it, so therefore she does not know if this document being moved into evidence is exactly the same affidavit as when she filled it out.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Yes.
The witness has just testified that everything in this document is accurate.
I think you should ask the question as to whether or not it's the same document as when she signed it.
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Willie, is this your affidavit?
It seems to be, yes.
And have you signed your name on the third page of this affidavit confirming the words written in this document?
Yes, I have.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense again moves to have this document accepted into evidence as Defense Exhibit B.
Any objection?
Your Honor, the counsel has still not established whether or not the document is in the same or substantially the same condition as when my witness filled out this document.
Sustained.
Miss Willie, isn't it a fact that you stated that your bid was too low for you to make a profit?
Objection, Your Honor. The counsel is reading from an out-of-court statement, therefore it is hearsay.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Yes.
I am not reading from the exact quote from the affidavit. I'm merely paraphrasing, asking her if that was her perception of her bid.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
The witness never said that in court today that the bid was, in fact, too low. A direct quote from her affidavit, which is therefore hearsay because the affidavit has not been admitted into evidence. So therefore, counsel cannot read from an out-of-court document.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Yes.
Could you please take judicial notice of the stipulated facts, page 27, stipulations 3 and 9? These stipulations state that all items of evidence are eligible for use at trial following proper identification. In addition, they state that all applicable motions have been made and decided. The constitutionality of all statements is not in question.
Yeah, may I respond?
The objection is sustained.
Thank you. Haven't you stated that your company was getting killed financially?
Objection,
Yes,
Your Honor. Again, the counsel is reading from the affidavit, which is not in evidence, therefore it's hearsay.
Are you asking a question from this document?
No, Your Honor, I'm asking her perception of her MAC contract.
All right, overruled.
I'll repeat.
Your Honor, if I may respond?
Yes.
The form of the question was you stated, and the witness never stated in court today this exact statement. Therefore, it is an out-of-court statement because it is a quote from the affidavit.
Rephrase your question, please.
Yes. Miss Willie, didn't you believe that your company was not making enough money on the MAC contract?
Objection, Your Honor. Opinion.
Sustained.
Isn't it a fact that Jefferson Monk gave you an increase in your fees every year?
Yes, but it was never enough to cover costs.
Your Honor, we move to strike that latter portion of that statement as unresponsive.
Stricken.
Thank you. Isn't it a fact that Jefferson Monk gave you an increase in your fees every year for 7 years?
Yes, very little increase, correct.
Your Honor, again, I move to strike that latter portion as unresponsive.
Very little is stricken.
Thank you. But you said that the increase given to you by Jefferson Monk was never enough. Isn't that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Again, the counsel is reading from an out-of-court statement, which has not been admitted into evidence. Therefore, the statement is hearsay.
Sustained.
I direct your attention to the year 1998. At this time, your company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Isn't that a fact?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
No, overruled.
Thank you. I'll repeat. At this time, in 1998, your company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Isn't that a fact?
That's correct.
And you agreed to help the state prosecute the Monk family after you filed for bankruptcy. Isn't that also a fact?
3 years later, after the investigation came out.
Your Honor, I move to strike that first portion of the statement. I only ask whether or not it happened.
Yes, sustained.
Thank you. Now, Miss Willie, you blame Jefferson Monk for many of your current financial problems. Isn't that a fact?
Objection, Your Honor. Opinion, and is also relevancy.
May I be
No,
heard
this
here?
is cross-examination. I'll permit it.
Thank you. You blame Jefferson Monk for many of your current financial problems. Isn't that a fact?
I blame all of my clients, including Jefferson Monk, but all of them equally.
Your Honor, I move to strike that statement as unresponsive.
Your Honor-
I merely ask with regard to Jefferson Monk.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes.
The witness was simply testifying as she was answering, and she does blame everyone equally. Therefore, she cannot say if she singly blames the monks. So therefore, she was answering the question.
The objection is sustained.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense moves to resubmit the affidavit of Pat Willey into evidence.
Any objections?
No. Your Honor, again, it's not been established that it is the same or substantially the same condition. Therefore, the document may not be the exact document that my witness filled out. It may not be her actual affidavit.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Yes.
It is a stipulated fact on page 27 that all statements are sworn and notarized. The accuracy of these statements is not in question. I'm merely trying to refresh the witness's memory.
The objection is sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor. Isn't it a fact that you may lose your house?
Yes, I might.
And you also have to work a night job just to stay afloat financially. Isn't that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevancy?
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Yes.
The witness's financial situation is a motive, and credibility and bias are always an issue at this trial.
I'll permit the question overruled.
Thank you. You have also stated that you have to work a night job just to stay afloat financially, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Again, counsel is referring to a statement that my witness made outside of court. Therefore, it is hearsay.
Are you referring to the written statement?
No, Your Honor. I'm merely referring to her financial situation.
I'll permit the question.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Overruled.
Thank you. Isn't it also true that you have had to work a night job just to stay afloat financially?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered.
No, overruled.
That's correct.
I direct your attention to November of 2000. The state investigated Willie Waste Company records from your MAC contract at this time, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
And Willie Waste Company's records for the year 1992 are missing, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Isn't this also true for the records for 1993?
Yes, that's correct. Lee Chang took the records, so I don't have them anymore.
Your Honor, move to strike the latter portion of that statement.
Yes, stricken.
Thank you. You became aware that you faced possible criminal charges in November of 2000, correct?
I knew that I could face possible charges, yes.
So yes.
Yes.
These charges for these years of missing records, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You charged Lee Chang with stealing these records, didn't you?
Well, she was alone in the office, and I returned the next morning, and it was gone,
Your
so
Honor,
yes.
please direct the witness to answer the question, yes or no.
The objection is sustained. Can you answer the question, please?
Yes.
But in the year 2000, the state was prepared to charge you for these missing records. Isn't that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. What the state was prepared to do would...
Sustained.
But isn't it a fact that you faced charges for these missing records?
Possible charges. I didn't face them.
So yes.
Possible charges, yes.
Thank you. It was at this point in the year 2000 that you told state investigators about your alleged conversations with Jefferson Monk. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Isn't it also a fact that you have offered to testify about your conversations with Jefferson Monk if the state promised to leave you alone?
Objection, Your Honor. Leave you alone characterization. And
I'll permit the question.
Okay. I'll repeat. Isn't it a fact, Miss Willey, that you offered to testify about your conversations with Jefferson Monk if the state promised to leave you alone?
Well, I wanted to testify either way, and yes, they would leave me alone, so yes.
So yes? Thank you. You are testifying here today under a grant of transactional immunity. Isn't that a fact?
That's correct.
Isn't it also a fact that this grant shields you from criminal charges for the 3 years of missing records?
Yes, it does.
This grant of immunity also shields you from criminal charges related to any activity relating to the disposal of Mac's waste. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Doesn't this grant also apply to your company?
It applies to me.
Doesn't it also apply to your company?
Yes.
Doesn't this grant also extend immunity to your employees as well?
Yes, it does.
Haven't you stated that it takes 2 to 3 strong men to lift a Mac barrel?
objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Thank you. Isn't it a fact that you hauled hazardous waste for other companies besides Mac?
Objection vague as to time.
Yes, I established a time frame.
Yes, Your Honor. During your years that you were contracting with Mac, the years 1991 through 1998, isn't it also a fact that you hauled hazardous waste for other companies besides Mac?
Yes, we had many companies.
So yes.
Yes.
Isn't it also true that those companies did not use bright blue barrels?
That's correct.
No further questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Redirect.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Honor, the people call Morgan Mitchell to the stand.
Right.
Again, do you promise or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Watch your step and please speak in a clear and audible voice.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mitchell.
Good afternoon.
How old are you?
I'm 45 years old.
And what is your occupation?
I'm the president of the Environmental Science League, or ESL.
And when was ESL founded?
ESL was founded in 1937.
And by whom was it founded?
My grandfather, John J. Mitchell, founded it.
And what is ESL's purpose today?
ESL serves...
Objection, Your Honor. Irrelevant.
No, I'll permit the question.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Oh, that's fine. ESL serves to protect the environment and to educate.
And where are ESL's headquarters located presently?
Presently, ESL's headquarters are on the land formerly owned by Jefferson Monk.
How did ESL acquire that land?
Jefferson Monk gave the land to ESL.
Was that the first time you had dealings with Jefferson Monk?
No, it wasn't.
Could you describe any previous dealings you had with Mr. Monk?
Objection, Your Honor. Vague as opposed to time frame.
Sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Prior to receiving the land, when did you have a previous dealing with Jefferson Monk?
Objection, Your Honor. Time frame is still vague. There's many years before dealing with Jefferson Monk.
Yeah, be specific, please.
Thank you, Your Honor.
In the 1960s, could you describe any interactions you had with Jefferson Monk?
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation. This time period is too far removed from the present case to be admitted into testimony.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm laying the foundation to reveal the state of mind of one of the defendants in this case.
I'll sustain it as to form.
Thank you, Your Honor.
When was the first time you met with Jefferson Monk?
When I was a young child, I was on the steps of the state capitol with my grandfather, and there was a fight between my
Objection,
grandfather
Your
and
Honor.
Jefferson Monk.
Irrelevant. Lack of foundation laid for this line of questioning.
Overruled, I'll permit it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
May I read this question, Your Honor?
Yes.
I don't believe the witness finished. When was the first time you met with Jefferson Monk?
When I was a young child, I was on the steps of the state capitol with my grandfather, and there was
Objection,
a...
Your Honor. Calls for a narrative.
I'll permit it. Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Could you finish the question?
Sure. When I was a young child, I was on the steps of the state capitol with my grandfather, and there was a fight between my grandfather and Jefferson Monk.
Could you describe this fight in further detail?
In the fight, Jefferson Monk screamed at my grandfather and me.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I'll permit it. Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
In the fight, Jefferson Monk screamed at my grandfather and me. If it takes
Objection,
my
Your
last
Honor,
line...
to the characterization of screened.
I'll permit it. Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
In the fight, Jefferson Monk screamed at my grandfather and me, if it takes my last dying breath, I will make you pay for this. You're going to bankrupt me.
Now, I direct your attention to the evening of October 27th, the year 2000. Where were you on that evening?
I was on the ESL property walking my dogs.
What was the first thing you observed while you were walking?
Objection, Your Honor. Leading the witness.
No. Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What was the first thing you observed while you were walking?
I saw a group of young children playing around a hole.
And upon seeing these children playing around a hole, what did you do next?
I went up for a closer look.
Could you describe what you saw with this closer look?
The children were playing amongst some barrels, and they had some type of substance on their hands.
Upon seeing that these children had some type of substance on their hands, what did you do next?
I screamed them to stop. I wiped their hands off with my sweatshirt, and I dialed 911.
After calling 911, what happened next?
I went back to the side of the barrels.
Could you describe this site for us in further detail?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for a narrative.
I'll permit it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
There are about 25 barrels in all, and there's a decal floating in one of the barrels.
Can you describe this decal for us in further detail?
The words Monk Agricultural Chemical Company were printed on the decal.
Upon seeing this MAC decal, what did you do?
Well, I got a stick with which I tried to retrieve the decal, but upon contact with the stick, the decal dissolved.
Now, getting back to the barrels themselves, can you describe them for us?
Yes. A few of the barrels were black, but most of them were a faded bright blue, and that shocked me.
For what reason did that shock
Objection,
you?
Your Honor.
Sustained. Shocking is stricken.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What was your reaction? Could you describe the surface of these barrels?
A few of the barrels were black, but most of them were a faded bright blue, and I know it's...
Objection, Your Honor, to the characterization of most. Could the witness please specify what number he means by most?
I'll permit the question and answer.
Thank you,
Overruled.
Your Honor.
A few of the barrels were black, but most of them were a faded bright blue, and I knew that the Monk Agricultural Chemical Company used that same bright blue color for all its signs, stationery, and
Objection,
even
Your
barrels.
Honor. Move to
The
strike.
latter portion is stricken.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Thank you, Your Honor.
No, it's stricken. Next question.
Upon seeing these bright blue barrels, what did you do next?
I called up Taylor Monk to ask him if he knew anything about the barrels.
And what was his reaction to your questioning?
Objection, Your Honor. Closed for a hearsay response.
Your Honor, may I respond?
I'm sorry. You called, what was the question again?
Well, the first question was what was your reaction to the bright blue barrels, and he said he called Taylor Monk.
Oh,
And then I said
okay.
what was
No,
Taylor Monk's
I'll
reaction?
permit that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What was Taylor Monk's reaction to your questioning?
He said that he always thought he was going to get his grandfather's land, and he was shocked when his grandfather gave to me, but that now he sure was glad it was my headache.
Objection, Your Honor. Move to strike as this hearsay is uncorroborated.
Overruled. I'll permit it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What happened after he told you this?
He laughed and laughed.
No further
Objection,
questions,
Your Honor. Move to strike.
No, overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
May I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Mitchell.
Hi.
I direct your attention to the night of October 27th, the year 2000. At this time, your organization, the Environmental Science League, was in operation, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
On that particular evening, you found a group of children playing around a hole, correct?
That is correct.
There were 12 children altogether, isn't that right?
Yes.
Isn't it a fact that these children were all 10 years of age?
I'm not sure about that, I think. Maybe.
You do not know the age of the members of your ESL?
I don't know the age of every single member, no.
You approached these children because you felt the hole might be dangerous, isn't that correct?
Yes,
Your Honor. Counsel is testifying for the witness.
No, I'll permit it.
I'll repeat the question. You approached the children because you felt the hole might be dangerous, correct?
Yes, I thought it might be dangerous.
When you arrived, there were no other adults, to the best of your knowledge, present, correct?
Not when I arrived, no.
The parents of these children are now suing the Environmental Science League for $7 million, isn't that right?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance?
No, overruled.
Yes, that is correct.
The Monk family donated 800 acres of land to the Environmental Science League in 1997, correct?
Yes, about 800 acres.
Isn't it a fact that your organization, the Environmental Science League, is now suing MAC?
Yes, that is correct.
Isn't it true that you said that you need a massive punitive award from that lawsuit?
Objection, Your Honor, as to form. Counsel is testifying as to something the witness has not said in this courtroom today.
Sustained as to form.
You are currently involved in a lawsuit with MAC, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
I'll permit it.
Well, yes, that is correct. We need the land cleaned up, and we need to be repaid for the loss of value of the land.
Isn't your entire statement you also need a massive punitive award?
Objection, Your Honor.
No, overruled.
As a nonprofit organization, ESL...
Your Honor, please instruct the witness to answer yes or no.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
Isn't it a fact that this lawsuit and other legal actions are being held in abeyance pending the disposition of this trial?
Objection, Your Honor. The only way the witness can know any of this information would be through hearsay evidence.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Yes.
He is involved in these lawsuits, and being that he is the president of the Environmental Science League, he is well aware of the legal status of this company.
Well, Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes.
While he is involved with the lawsuit, the only way this information could come to him is through his ears, as other people told him it, or as he read it through documents.
I'll permit the question. Overruled.
I'll repeat the question. Isn't it a fact that this lawsuit and other legal actions are being held in abeyance pending the disposition of this trial?
I'm not really sure about that.
So you do not know the legal status of your Environmental Science League?
I know the legal status, but I'm not exactly sure about that specific point.
I'll move on. Are you familiar with the U.S. Microchip Corporation?
Yes, I'm.
Didn't the discovery of the barrels on ESL property terminate the pending sale you had with this company?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance?
No, overruled.
When all those toxic
Your Honor,
barrels were
please
found.
instruct the witness to answer yes or no.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
I direct your attention to the floating decal that you have testified to. Can we agree that you are the only person who saw this particular decal?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Sustained.
Could you repeat the question?
Sustained. Don't answer the question.
You removed this decal yourself, correct?
Yes.
You didn't wait for state investigators to come and observe this and remove this decal, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative.
Sustained.
You touched this wet decal with a stick in order to retrieve it, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Characterization is to wet. I'm not sure my witness has ever testified
May
as to
I
that
be heard,
fact.
Your Honor?
I'll permit the question. Overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor. In fact, you touched this wet decal with a stick in order to retrieve it, correct?
Yes, I wanted to retrieve the decal.
And it dissolved after you made contact, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Isn't it a fact that this decal was floating just under the surface of the dark waste?
Just under the surface.
Isn't it a fact that you didn't get close enough to the drum?
I didn't get too close.
You stated earlier that you read the words Monk Agricultural Chemical Corporation.
No, I never said that.
In direct, didn't you state that on the sticker you saw Monk Agricultural Chemical Company on the sticker?
Objection, Your Honor. That is not the same question counsel asked my witness previously. She
Oh.
said corporation.
All permitted. Overruled.
On direct, I said that the words Monk Agricultural Chemical Company were printed on the decal.
I'd like to refer to Prosecution Exhibit A. Do you have? Could you please lift up Prosecution Exhibit, the sticker?
Objection, Your Honor. Since this sticker was found at the second site of the barrels by Sandy Carnes, and my witness has only observed evidence at the first site of the barrels, I'm not sure my witness has the knowledge to testify about this document.
Sustained.
Did you happen to see the lot number on this particular sticker?
Objection, Your Honor. She's referring to a document my witness has never seen before.
Your Honor, I'm asking simply if the witness saw on a particular sticker a lot number.
You're referring to the sticker that
No, Your Honor.
dissolved?
No.
No, then the objection is sustained.
I direct your attention to the time your organization accepted the Monk property. Didn't you have a Phase 1 environmental report done on the property at this time?
Yes, to make sure the land was safe.
Your Honor, I'd like to strike the latter portion of that statement as unresponsive.
Sustained.
Didn't that report come up negative concerning the presence of hazardous waste?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Report speaks for itself.
Thank you, Your Honor. But this property was zoned for industrial use, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
I'll permit the question. Overruled.
I'm not really sure about the whole property status.
Did you not know the property status when you accepted this deeded land from Jefferson Monk?
I knew the status, but I'm not sure about every square foot of the land, how it's considered.
Did you know in the previous history of this land that it was zoned for industrial use?
Objection, Your Honor. Scope.
Sustained.
You stated that you were stupid not to have the Phase 2 inspection done, isn't that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. As to form stated and as to characterization stupid.
Your Honor, the witness uses this in his own words in the affidavit.
In that case, it's hearsay, Your Honor.
I'll permit the question.
Isn't it a fact you stated that you were stupid not to have a Phase 2 environmental report done on the property?
I feel I was stupid for not insisting on that.
So
Objection,
yes.
Your Honor. Opinion.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
Yes.
The witness can form an opinion on his own actions.
Sustained. The objection is sustained. Stricken.
In fact, you stated that this whole incident has made you look like a fool, isn't that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Sustained.
Is it your possession that ESL has made many enemies in its effort to cause environmental reform?
It has made many enemies because of that.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
No redirect, Your Honor.
Thank you. Step down.
Thank you.
Is that the prosecution's case?
The people rest, Your Honor.
Right. We will take a brief recess.